7 o'clock, we want to get through breaking overnight news from Virginia Beach. Police are investigating a crash that injured a police officer. It happened around 3:30 this morning on General Booth Boulevard near London Bridge Road. That's in the Red Mill section of the city.
A police department spokeswoman just told us a car ran a stop sign and hit the police cruiser. The officer is okay, but went to the hospital as a precaution. The other driver got a ticket for failing to stop. Breaking news this morning out of Pennsylvania. Officials say at least 42 people are hurt after a crash. 4 of them are in critical condition. It happened in the Philadelphia suburb Upper Darby around 12:15 this morning. Police say a train with passengers hit an empty parked train at a terminal. Police are still working to learn how the crash happened. We'll keep you updated as we learn more.
It is Tuesday. Good morning. Thanks for joining us on WAVY News 10 at 7 a.m. on Fox 43. I'm Don Roberts.
And I'm Lex Gray. Let's check in with meteorologist Jeremy Wheeler, who is talking about some hot temperatures on the way today.
Yeah, we're starting off already with temperatures mid to upper 70s. Matter of fact, Back Bay right now, 79 degrees, mid to upper 70s in Hampton, Norfolk, Virginia Beach, 75 and 75 in Newport News. Now, there's a little bit of patchy fog out there, and so it starts up in Chesapeake on the south end, goes over to southern Virginia Beach now. That's new. 3/10 of a mile in Suffolk. We got also a little patchy fog reaching down into Gates County, but Norfolk northward, we're doing okay. No rain out there right now, Super Doppler 10. There's a couple of clouds offshore, extra thick clouds, but no rain there. And today I'm not expecting much for rain, maybe a stray shower, but we're partly cloudy. The temperatures low to mid 90s, the heat index near 100. So get ready for a hot and humid day, but some relief is coming. I'll talk more about that in just 10 minutes. Jen Lewis is in now with traffic.
Thank you, Jeremy. Good morning. It's 7:02 with about a 2-mile backup heading to the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel from the peninsula to the south side. Your eastbound set of lanes right here, and traffic starting to get closer to the Hampton River Bridge as far as the backup goes. Your westbound set of lanes, that looks fine if you need to travel the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel to the peninsula. And our other connectors, okay, the Monitor Merrimack and the James River Bridge. This not so okay. This is a lot of fog, and it's 64 eastbound and westbound here on the approach to the high-rise bridge traveling from Bowers Hill in toward Chesapeake. It's very thick still out this way. While it's lifting in some spots, it's still very thick here, as you've been hearing Jeremy say. And you can see our visibility impacts map so that it is beginning to move off toward Virginia Beach. Here at the Midtown and downtown tunnels, the eastbound commute is starting to pick up at both, and 564 looks a lot better. And the approach to 564 has been good all morning, using 64 west between 264 and 564. Just some pickups around the gate area along 564 right now. It's not backed up to the runway tunnel anymore. And we do have an opening set for the James River Bridge, but it's not till later this morning. It's scheduled for 11:45. Now, here's Don and Lex.
Our time 7:03. This morning, President Trump's first primetime policy address on the war in Afghanistan is getting mixed reviews from local lawmakers.
President Trump campaigned on a platform of withdrawing troops from America's longest war, but admitted he is now changing course.
I'm a problem solver, and in the end, we will win.
Now, the president says he won't base the new strategy in Afghanistan on a timeline, but rather conditions on the ground. Analysts say his new approach strikes a balance between those who want to stay in the war and others who want us out of the 16-year conflict.
This morning, Rico Bush is pouring over the reaction from our local lawmakers live from our newsroom. So, Rico, what is the feedback looking like this morning?
Well, Lex, Don, the president's speech is getting both praise and criticism. Congressman Scott Taylor praised his speech on Twitter, including the president's call for Pakistan to help the U.S. work towards peace in the region. Meanwhile, Senator Tim Kaine says his address was empty on specifics and wants to see more details. Senator Tim Kaine also added he wants a debate and a vote on a long-term military strategy in the country, I should say. In his speech, Mr. Trump refused to disclose his strategy, but said his mission is not to rebuild the Middle Eastern country, but instead to fight against terror. The president's new way forward includes a crackdown on Pakistan. President Trump says while the U.S. will remain in Afghanistan, he warned Americans' patience could run out. A local political science professor says a change in strategy could be good for the region.
Afghanistan has really made such little progress in the 16 years that we've been there. But, you know, by being there and propping up the Afghan military, we've been able to keep it from falling into complete and total chaos.
The president gave no timeline for withdrawal, but promised victory. He said a quick exit would allow ISIS and other terror networks to grow. The president did not discuss troop numbers, saying he's letting his defense secretary, James Mattis, make that decision. The Pentagon has recommended sending nearly 4,000 new U.S. troops to Afghanistan. Now, coming up in 30 minutes, I'll tell you how many troops are still in that region and give you some quick facts about the war. Live in the newsroom, Rico Bush, Tonight Your Side.
New information about the search for 10 sailors after the USS John S. McCain and an oil tanker collided east of Singapore early Monday morning. The Navy says divers are searching the flooded compartments of the warship. Investigators ordered a broad investigation into the performance of the Pacific-based 7th Fleet. This is the second major collision in 2 months. 7 sailors died when the USS Fitzgerald and a merchant ship collided in June.
Paul Ryan talks about Charlottesville, what the Speaker of the House had to say about the president's controversial comments regarding the violent protests.
Take a knee. How the Cleveland Browns responded after several players did not stand during last night's national anthem.
And new on Fox 43, a couple of women say their dog alerted them to an intruder in the backyard. The disgusting things they say the surveillance pictures show.
Now your Super Doppler 10 forecast with meteorologist Jeremy Wheeler.
Well, we had some fog earlier in Portsmouth, and I want to back this up for a second. It fast forwarded on me, but take a look. I can actually play it backwards too. And so here we go. And the fog moved in. There it was. Now it has moved out and burned off. And today we're going to see, well, quite a bit of sunshine, at least for the morning. Now let's get a check on the fog. Some other locations, though, from southern Chesapeake into southern Virginia Beach, all the way back down to Ahoskie, we got some lower visibility. That runs right through Gatesville, and 2.5 mile visibility in Currituck. But we're doing okay north of Norfolk. Our temperatures, they're in the mid to upper 70s with a few low 70s around Chesapeake, around Franklin, Windsor. Right now, it's pretty warm and muggy outside, and with that sun rising, well, it's going to get hot pretty quick. Our dew points, they're in the low to mid 70s. They may increase a little bit from here going into the afternoon. We got a southerly wind to do that. And again, with lots of sunshine out, we're going to heat things up. A few clouds offshore, but no showers out there across land. Maybe a stray shower today, but it's a very low chance, 10%. Now, winds, they're to the south about 5 miles an hour. We're doing pretty good today for sky conditions. We got partly cloudy skies, but the temperature already 86 at noon, 93 degrees for a high today, but the heat index, there you go, 99 to 103. That's what it'll feel like with the heat and humidity combined. Tomorrow, scattered showers and storms in the afternoon. That'll be a cold front, and that's going to cool things down for later this week into the weekend. I'll talk more about the weekend forecast, and I'll track the tropics in just 10 minutes. Jen Lewis is in now traffic.
Thank you, Jeremy. Good morning. It's 7:10 as we travel to Bowers Hill, going 664 southbound to 64 west. Motorists here topping out about 60 miles per hour, and that's good, but traffic is okay. Just the fog is pretty thick in this corridor as well. Like here, Military Highway, George Washington Highway, that's all pretty foggy until you get a little bit closer to the high-rise bridge. Traffic's not backed up. It's just heavy but steady. It looks okay here at the high-rise and the Gilmerton as far as traffic is concerned, but as soon as you get a little further up, 64 westbound and eastbound, right around 464, it looks fine. There's no more fog in the area. And this is in the vicinity of the Providence Road overpass. The outside set of lanes here would be westbound, and most motorists here heading toward that 264 interchange, which is in fine shape. As you can see, 64 looks good. So does 264 eastbound heading toward the Virginia Beach oceanfront, or westbound if you need to get into downtown Norfolk first thing this morning. Now, as far as travel to the downtown and midtown tunnels are concerned, this would be eastbound, and the time it would take, for example, here at the midtown tunnel from 664 to the tunnel, just 6 minutes, and at the downtown tunnel from Frederick Boulevard to the bridge, just 4. Now here's Lex.
Public housing debate, what city leaders are expected to discuss again tonight after delaying a vote last month.
New this morning, dog napped. See the moment a thief grabbed a dog out of its own driveway.
And an extra special homecoming. See what one local sailor did to surprise his kids after a 7-month-long deployment. We have breaking news involving the collision involving the USS John S. McCain. The commander of the U.S. Pacific Fleet says divers found some remains of Navy sailors in a flooded compartment of the warship. We're still working to find out more specifics about that. This is after it collided with an oil tanker off the coast of Singapore early Monday morning. Investigators ordered a broad investigation into the performance of the Pacific-based 7th Fleet.
The commander says he has seen no indications of any hacking, despite allegations that a foreign power may have tampered with the ship's technology, causing the collision. Now, this is the second major collision in 2 months. 7 sailors died when the USS Fitzgerald and a merchant ship collided in June.
All new this morning on Fox 43, a man is suing Home Depot after he says a piece of steel pipe hit and hurt him. According to court documents, Gilbert Martinez says it happened in June of 2015 at the home improvement store on Lynn Haven Parkway near Princess Anne Road in Virginia Beach. Martinez claims Home Depot failed to properly install and secure the pipe. He says the accident caused him serious and permanent injuries. He's asking for $1 million. Home Depot responded with its own paperwork, saying it demands Martinez show proof and will not pay any money. We'll keep you updated on what happens. You can read more about this on WAVY.com. We have the court documents posted within this story.
Developing this morning, police continue to investigate the accident where an Amtrak train hit a pedestrian in Williamsburg. It happened just before 6 Sunday night on Bypass Road. Now, they say the woman refused to get off the tracks after the conductor blew the horn several times. That train was on its way to Boston. No one on the train was hurt. Investigators still haven't identified the victim.
New this morning, police in North Carolina say they're investigating a deadly home invasion. It happened in Enfield in Halifax County, just south of Roanoke Rapids. Police say someone broke in and killed 4 people sometime between Sunday night and Monday morning. They say some things were missing from the home, but there were no signs of a struggle.
This morning, we're hearing from House Speaker Paul Ryan on President Trump's controversial reaction to the recent racial violence in Charlottesville. Now, he pointed specifically to the president's comments equating neo-Nazis and white supremacists with counter-protesters.
In answer to a question, I think he made comments that were much more morally ambiguous, much more confusing. And I do think he could have done better. I think he needed to do better. So I do believe that he messed up in his comments on Tuesday when it sounded like a moral equivocation, or at the very least moral ambiguity, when we need extreme moral clarity.
Ryan did praise the president's plans on Afghanistan, saying he was happy with the way the commander-in-chief thought long and hard and consulted his advisors before coming to a decision about adding troops.
This morning, the Cleveland Browns are getting attention for taking a knee during the national anthem before last night's preseason game against the New York Giants. 11 players participated. The group knelt behind the Cleveland bench, and several other players stood nearby and put a hand on a kneeling teammate's shoulder. The Browns released a statement saying it would prefer players stand for the anthem but respect their freedom to demonstrate.
New this morning, someone took a dog right off of its family's backyard in Oklahoma, and it was all caught on camera. Take a look. Here, the woman gets out of the convertible and scoops up Fiona, the dachshund, and gets back in the car. Now, her owners say they just adopted Fiona to help their older dog, who is blind and deaf, and they're desperate to find out who took their dog and to get her home.
I think I'm concerned more that the dog will get used in a puppy farm.
That's horrible. Have you seen those places? It's terrible.
The Tylers say their older dog is miserable without Fiona. Now, police haven't said anything about any suspects.
A woman caught a man creeping on her in her backyard, and the whole thing is on camera. Take a look at these photos. That's a man in Janae and Denise's backyard. You can see he's wandering around and even peering into the window just 3 feet away from Denise. That's when the man exposed himself and started touching himself.
So he was pretty comfortable. That's the scariest part.
And if it weren't for this dog having to go potty, we would have never known that this happened at all.
The little dog went outside and chased the man out of the yard. Police are still trying to figure out who he is. Happening today, Norfolk City Council is expected to talk about a proposed plan to replace much of the city's public housing with mixed-use development. The council delayed a vote on it last month. The plan would demolish about 1,700 units over the next decade. The homes are in what's known as St. Paul's. It includes homes in Calvert Square, Tidewater Gardens, and Young Terrace. A city spokesperson said council delayed last month's vote to hear from residents and impacted communities first.
Well, tonight, Portsmouth City Council was set to discuss school funding. This comes after last Friday's showdown between the council members and the school system. Now, the city ultimately gave the district $4.3 million after school administrators held a news conference saying that they ran out of money. School board members say the city owed the money to them. Mayor John Rowe called it a political move.
This morning, we're seeing even more amazing images from yesterday's total eclipse. This one is from NASA. You can see the moon's shadow as it crosses the U.S., and this video is from on board a special charter flight in Alaska. It flew 2 hours out over the Pacific to get a view of the eclipse at 40,000 feet. And now that the eclipse is over, the people who traveled to view from the path of totality are headed home. This is a look at Portland's main roadway with bumper-to-bumper traffic as far as you can see. Officials with the Oregon Department of Transportation predict it could be one of the biggest traffic jams in state history. 7:20, here's Jen Lewis with a check of time-saver traffic. Hopefully nothing like that here, Jen.
Nothing like that, but we do have a crash clearing on 564. This is right up around the gate, blocking the left-hand lane, and it is causing delay now for motorists traveling 564. It slows right around the runway tunnel, so that corridor is now heavy, as you can see reflected here on our traffic flows map, because of the crash blocking that left-hand lane in the vicinity of the gate. Here at the Berkeley Bridge, we have pickups eastbound, as you can see here on the bridge traveling into Norfolk. Same thing in the tunnel, but no backups on the Portsmouth side just yet. I'm watching it. I have another report coming up in 10 minutes. At the Midtown Tunnel, looks okay. Just starting to be a little bit eastbound going into Norfolk on 58. It's moderate to heavy traffic now going into Norfolk. If you're heading to the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel, traffic is heavy. It slows across the Hampton River Bridge. Not quite to King Street yet, but certainly keeping an eye on that as well. No delays at the Monterey to Merrimack or the James River Bridge if you'd prefer to use one of those to take you to the south side. Traffic flows on the peninsula, they look okay. Notice some busier traffic westbound around Jefferson Avenue and eastbound in the vicinity of Fort Eustis Boulevard. But for now, not backed up. So if your commute takes you to points north first thing this morning, right now traffic is in pretty good shape. And we do have an opening coming up at the James River Bridge. It's set to happen at 11:45. Now here's Jeremy with your forecast.
Thanks, Jen. We've got the heat on today. Temperature is going to rise up into the low to mid 90s, but the heat index will be in the upper 90s, lower 100s. It'll be pretty rough out there. Maybe a little bit worse than average for this time of year. The average high temperature 84 degrees, but we usually have some 90s in August. 93 is what I'm calling for today, 91 tomorrow, and then temperatures upper 70s to near 80 Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We got some nice temperatures in there to go into the weekend. If you have some outdoor plans, I think you'll like the weather forecast. More on that in just a moment. But right now we got high pressure to the northeast, stationary front falling apart to our south, and we have a cold front in the Midwest. That will be here tomorrow. That's what's going to change things up and give us a chance for showers and storms in the cool down later this week. Right now we've got a little patchy fog holding on, maybe more of a haze now, but mostly clear skies and temperatures in the low to mid 70s. It's warm and it's muggy heading out the door this morning. It's going to be a tough hair day because of humidity. The dew points are in the 70s. Now there's no rain. We have Super Doppler 10. Things are quiet. Got mostly clear skies for the morning through noon. Then in the afternoon, we may see an isolated shower coming up from the south. I say the chance of rain about 10%, and that's it. So pretty quiet weather overall today, but hot and humid, and a stray shower possible. Tonight, we're going to have mostly clear to partly cloudy skies. Now tomorrow, we're going to go through today. This is 7 a.m., and we're going to see an increase in clouds pretty quickly. So by noon, we're mostly cloudy already, at least for a good portion of the area. And then going into the afternoon, scattered showers and storms fire up. And we could see a big area of rain. Chance of rain tomorrow, 60%. Going into the evening time, more showers, more thunderstorms. Could see some heavy rain and some gusty winds for a little while there in the afternoon. We're going to have an update on the timing of all that. WAVY News 10 at midday and at 4 p.m. today. Temperatures upper 80s over the Outer Banks, low 90s Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Portsmouth, 96 Chesapeake, low 90s in Currituck, Suffolk, and we got low 90s in Hampton and Newport News today. Upper 80s on the eastern shore, Melfa, Cape Charles, 90 in Kilmarnock, 92 Gloucester, and 96 in Williamsburg. But it's going to feel like, again, the upper 90s to lower 100s. Now, the ECSC is happening this week. We got winds out of the south-southwest, 5 to 10. Waves 1 to 2 feet today and tomorrow. Water temperatures in the upper 70s. And for those that want to know, any swimmers out there, we got a low threat for rip currents for today. The waves won't be this high, but hopefully they come up later this week. In the tropics, we've got the remnants of Harvey, which are crossing the Yucatan Peninsula. You know, once that gets into the Bay of Campeche, there's some warm water there. It'll probably re-intensify and may head towards southeast Texas. We'll see. This tropical disturbance is headed for Florida. It looks like it's very weak, low chance of formation next 2 to 5 days, but it's so close to the U.S. We'll track it closely. We'll track all of it closely. All right, so temps low 90s next couple of days. We get the cold front coming through, then we drop to the 80s for highs Thursday, Friday, and then upper 70s into the weekend. So we got some nice cooler temperatures over there Saturday, Sunday, and drier conditions too.
Looks like a pretty good weekend to me. The weather is really cooperating with us here in Hampton Roads for the eclipse yesterday.
Yeah.
And for the homecoming, some nice weather.
I want a do-over with the eclipse. Can you work that out?
Yeah, I think we've got
Yes,
some video that we can, you can check out, and you put on the sunglasses and just kind of reminisce about yesterday.
Reminisce.
Yep.
Okay, might try that.
It's 7:25. We'll be right back.
This is your latest news from the station on your side, WAVY News 10.
Good morning. Our time now 7:27. We want to get right to breaking news overnight from Virginia Beach. Police are investigating a crash that injured a police officer. It happened around 3:30 this morning on General Booth Boulevard near London Bridge Road. That's in the Red Mill area of the city.
A police department spokeswoman just told us a car ran a stop sign and hit the police cruiser. The officer is okay, but went to the hospital as a precaution. The other driver got a ticket for failing to stop. A Virginia Beach babysitter charged in connection to a 4-month-old death is expected to plead guilty today. Marlene Rice faces several charges, including child cruelty and operating a facility without a license. Investigators say Rice was operating a private daycare off Dam Neck Road without a license when the 4-month-old died in her care. An autopsy shows there was no foul play or bruising on the baby. Police say they found 17 children at her home. It's 7:28. Here's Jen Lewis with a check of time saver traffic.
Thank you, Lex. We've got a crash clearing on 564. It's 564 westbound, right around the gate area, blocking the left-hand lane. And because of it, 564 westbound traffic is slow just beyond the runway tunnel. At the Midtown and Downtown tunnels, we've got increased traffic at the Downtown tunnel eastbound, and now 264 slows between Elm and Effingham. Here at the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel approach, it is a heavy commute eastbound for motorists traveling to the south side. It backs across the Hampton River Bridge. Quieter at the Monitor Merrimack or James River Bridge. And speaking of the James James River Bridge, there's a late morning opening. It's set for 11:45. Now, here's Jeremy with your forecast.
All right, thanks, Jenny. We had some patchy fog out there this morning. It's trying to come back in places. Right now, Virginia Beach doing okay on the north end, but on the south end, southern Chesapeake, Suffolk, I've got some thick fog. Be careful driving down there in places, but we're doing okay Norfolk onto the north. No rain this morning. Things are quiet. Might see an isolated or stray shower today. Low chance. I think the big story is the heat. Highs will be in the low to mid 90s. Heat index near 100. And then tomorrow we cool down slightly, but a bigger cool down coming in Thursday.
Hello, hello. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Thank you.
Now, from the station on your side, you're watching WAVY News 10 on Fox 43.
Fight to win. That's President Donald Trump's message about sending troops into Afghanistan. Rico Bush takes a closer look at reaction to the commander-in-chief's new strategy.
Plus, residents screamed and cursed at leaders at Charlottesville's city council meeting. What community members had to say to council members for the first time since the deadly clashes in the city.
And crisis in the classroom, the nationwide epidemic that could impact your child's education. We want to get to breaking overnight news from Virginia Beach. Police are investigating a crash that hurt an officer. It happened around 3:30 this morning on General Booth Boulevard near London Bridge Road. That's in the Red Mill area of the city.
A police department spokeswoman just told us a car ran a stop sign and hit the police cruiser. The officer is okay, but went to the hospital as a precaution. The other driver got a ticket for failing to stop.
This morning, a new way forward for America's longest war.
We are not nation building again. We are killing terrorists.
President Donald Trump says he's stepping up military engagement in Afghanistan. He announced the move last night during his first major policy speech. Rico Bush got reaction to the president's speech overnight. So, Rico, what's the big thing to take away from this address?
Well, Lex, Katie, the president was light on specifics, but he says his new strategy in Afghanistan won't be based on a timeline, but rather conditions on the ground, adding that the U.S. needs a path to victory. The president's announcement goes against his campaign promise to scale back U.S. involvement in the war. Mr. Trump says a quick exit would result in unacceptable consequences. He also called on allies to contribute more money to the fight against ISIS and called on Pakistan to help bring peace to the region. President Trump says the U.S.'s mission is not to rebuild Afghanistan, but to weed out terrorists and terror networks. A local political science professor at CNU says leaving Afghanistan wouldn't bode well for Trump's legacy.
And I think that Trump is understanding that if he draws down further, if things are starting to slip out of control of the Afghan troops there, that he'll end up holding the blame if another ISIS emerges or the Taliban regroups or Al Qaeda takes a stranglehold on the country. And I think that he's concerned with owning that again.
President Trump says while the U.S. will remain in Afghanistan, the U.S.'s patience is not unlimited and support does not come with a blank check. The war in Afghanistan began 16 years ago this October. 3 presidents have served as commander-in-chief during that conflict. Roughly 8,400 troops are currently still serving there, and analysts estimate the war has cost the U.S. $2 trillion since 2001. This morning, the president's speech is getting mixed reviews from Capitol Hill. We'll take a look at the reaction from our local lawmakers in just 30 minutes. Rico Bush, 10 on your side.
Happening today, one of the Marines killed in a military plane crash last month in Mississippi will be buried at Arlington National Cemetery. Gunnery Sergeant Mark A. Hopkins grew up in Chesapeake and graduated from Great Bridge High School. He received several awards and decorations during his service, including a Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal and 4 Humanitarian Service Medals. Hopkins, along with 14 other Marines and a Navy sailor, were headed for pre-deployment training in Arizona when their KC-130 air tanker went down in a cornfield. It's still not clear what caused the crash.
New this morning, anger boiled over at the first Charlottesville City Council meeting since deadly white nationalist clashes took over the city. Hundreds of people brought last night's meeting to a halt. They screamed and cursed at council members. Police took a few people into custody. Many people say they were upset about how city leaders handled the deadly rally. 7:36 still to come on WAVY News 10 today on Fox 43, protecting Hampton roads. The steps your local leaders are taking in an effort to prevent violent crashes over Confederate monuments.
Plus, pushing for Medicaid expansion, why Governor McAuliffe says the Commonwealth could cash in on the move.
And you are taking a live look outside from Tower Cam 10. Pack the water. It's going to be a hot day ahead. Meteorologist Jeremy Wheeler is tracking what it'll feel like in your neighborhood next in your Super Doppler 10 forecast.
your Super Doppler 10 forecast with meteorologist Jeremy Wheeler.
All right, well, you know, this was earlier this morning. We had a time lapse of the fog. It rolled into Portsmouth and then it hung around for a little bit. It moved out for a while and then it tried to come back. Now I would say we're kind of in between. Let's get the current picture. So there it is, Tower Cam 10. We've got mostly clear skies overhead with a little bit of haze/fog. Now, we've got some low visibilities in here, southern Virginia Beach, southern Chesapeake into southern Suffolk, all the way down to Ahoskie. But we're doing okay from Currituck southward and Norfolk northward, so it's really kind of a thin band of fog. Should burn off in the next hour. We get the sun up shining, heating up our temps. We're in the low 70s in Chesapeake and Franklin and Windsor, but the rest of us mid to upper 70s right now, and it's pretty warm out. 75 Virginia Beach and Newport News, upper 70s in Killable Hills, 76 Wallops Island, and 76 in Saluda. So today, you know, it's going to be warm. It's going to be humid. It's already humid outside. The dew points, they're in the low to mid 70s. They may rise a little bit. Look at the dew point 77 in Edenton, and we have a south wind. So we may heat up a little bit more, and, well, we're definitely going to heat up a little more. We may get a little bit more humid today. We got a lot of sunshine out there, mostly clear to partly cloudy skies, and the winds, again, out of the south, 5 to 10 miles an hour. So the temperatures rise. We're going to be in the mid 80s at noon, mid to upper 80s at noon, low to mid 80s at 3 p.m. The heat index upper 90s to lower 100. So get ready for a hot and humid day. Tomorrow, it's going to be more clouds. We won't be quite as hot, but still pretty humid. 91. Then we get showers and storms in here with a cold front, and we cool things down on Thursday. Now, we're going to stay down for a while over to the weekend. I'm going to talk more about that in just 10 minutes. Now, Jen Lewis is in with Time Saver Traffic.
Thank you, Jeremy. Good morning. It is 7:41 with some fog still hanging out in spots. For example, here, this is at the base of the high-rise bridge. Your westbound set of lanes there heading from Bowers Hill toward Chesapeake, and that's eastbound heading toward Bowers Hill from Chesapeake. And you can see it's still pretty dense in this area. So if this is part of your commute in southern Chesapeake, take your time. You don't have to hurry when the visibility is just so tough. You can see we actually have a slowdown further out. 64 westbound starting to slow around 264, and then it improves once you get beyond George Washington Highway. We'll go back to the middle here at the Midtown and downtown tunnels. It's busier eastbound at the downtown tunnel for motorists traveling in toward Portsmouth, and traffic building on the Portsmouth side between Elm and Effingham. We still have this crash clearing, but it is no longer blocking lanes. It's 564 westbound up around the gate area, and traffic is slow just beyond the runway tunnel because of it. Also notice some busy traffic here on the bridge traveling 664 northbound using the Monitor Merrimack Bridge Tunnel. Now here's Lex.
Coming up, Confederate monument controversy, why UNC is particularly concerned about one of its statues on campus.
Plus, we are tracking a nationwide teacher shortage. What numbers show about the impact it's having in the classroom.
And a woman wakes up to an unwanted surprise in her backyard. What she's trying to do with it.
7:44, all new this morning. North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper told UNC officials they do have the legal authority to remove a Confederate memorial from campus in Chapel Hill if they believe there's a risk to public safety. High-ranking university officials had asked Cooper to convene the North Carolina Historical Commission, which could be the first step in removing the statue. The university officials cited significant safety and security threats, but stopped short of ever directly advocating for the statue's removal. Officials say they are aware of a possible rally at one of the monuments tonight by groups not affiliated with the university.
Police in Florida arrested 3 people last night for rioting during protests over a Confederate monument. It happened in the Gulf Coast city of Bradenton. City leaders placed plywood around the monument following the violent and deadly protests in Charlottesville. Groups for and against the public display clashed as they marched through downtown. No one was hurt.
On the heels of the Charlottesville violence, local leaders are addressing ways to prevent chaos like that from breaking out here. Last night in Portsmouth, council members took that matter up during the public works session. Councilman Mark Whitaker requested council draft an ordinance to prevent or prohibit groups with a violent history from demonstrating. Leaders all seem to agree any sort of domestic terrorist group should not be welcomed into the city with open arms. However, several people expressed concerns over whether blocking certain people from getting permits would hinder free speech.
I agree if there's a way we can prevent them. I just think it's going to be very hard to do with their freedom of speech. I think we have to allow them to come because it doesn't matter the group, it doesn't matter their mission. It's once they cross the line.
I think you forfeit your freedom of speech when you have caused damage to people.
Council posed several questions, agreeing they need to explore the matter further. During tonight's formal meeting, the city manager will present a resolution condemning the violence in Charlottesville. Attendees will also receive purple ribbons in honor of Heather Heyer, the woman killed there.
Governor Terry McAuliffe says he has cautious optimism when it comes to Virginia's fiscal health. Yesterday, he gave a year-end report to the joint money committees in a packed room in Richmond. McAuliffe said the Commonwealth is ending fiscal year 2017 with more than $130 million more in the general fund than projected. Some of that is already committed to things like improving water quality, but the governor recommends every available dime of the surplus go to cash reserve.
Any effort to build up liquidity and cash reserve is a wise course of action.
Governor McAuliffe says President Donald Trump's recent budget proposal will cause irreparable harm to Virginians. He says by not expanding Medicaid, Virginia has forfeited nearly $10.5 billion in federal tax dollars.
7:47, new this morning, data shows schools across the country are dealing with a teacher shortage. A national education think tank called the Learning Policy Institute says there are not enough qualified teachers applying for jobs to meet the demand in all locations and fields. Some schools are increasing class sizes. The institute estimated if trends continue, there could be a nationwide shortfall of nearly 115,000 teachers by 2018.
All new this morning, 1 person is dead and more than 24 are injured after an earthquake in Europe. It happened on the popular Italian tourist island of Ischia, that's just west of Naples. A woman died after a piece of stonework fell from a church and crushed her. Emergency crews rushed 25 people to the hospital. 10 are still missing. 6 buildings and a church collapsed. Experts say the quake was a magnitude 4.3, which is classified as a light earthquake. 7:48 happening today. Local leaders are getting together in Norfolk to discuss sea level rise. The forum is titled Hampton Roads Resilience, How the Region Works with Water. More than 20 speakers will review and discuss infrastructure and public services, how localities adapt, and more. It starts at 8 this morning at the Norfolk Waterside Marriott. 7:49, here's Jen Lewis with a check of time saver traffic.
Well, we have some new trouble. Here we are on the peninsula. This particular camera is sitting right around Fort Eustis Boulevard, and we have an issue. There's a crash 64 westbound before you get to Fort Eustis Boulevard, blocking one lane, and because of it, you can see all the delayed traveling in each direction, and I'm going to show you specifically where it is now on our traffic flows map. For example, here's your westbound set of lanes that's traveling out of Newport News toward James City County, and traffic starts to slow before Fort Eustis Boulevard and picks up just beyond it. That crash is right around exit 251. And then the eastbound set of lanes also very heavy, backs up more eastbound. But this time of the morning, typically we do have eastbound heavy traffic. Just that crash westbound is not helping matters. 64 eastbound slows before Lee Hall and then improves once you get beyond Fort Eustis Boulevard. So that whole corridor is very heavy right now. Using Route 60 or 143 might be helpful, but could also be congested from folks jumping over. Now, a crash also clearing here, blocking one lane, 664 northbound at the Monitor Merrimack. So you'll find heavy traffic on the bridge and some in Suffolk. It slows to around College Drive. At the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel, you have a heavy eastbound commute, and traffic slows across the Hampton River Bridge. That's going to the south side. No delays getting to the peninsula. And 564 westbound, we had a crash there clearing right around the gate. No longer there, but you'll still find some residual delay from around the runway tunnel. And our overall traffic flows map with visibility impacts the overlay there. You still have heavy traffic here westbound on 64 between 264 and George Washington, and on the Portsmouth side of the downtown eastbound. Now here's Jeremy with your forecast.
All right, thanks, Jen. Well, today the sun is back in full force, so we're going to heat up. We're going to go for highs in the low to mid 90s this afternoon. No disruptions. Yesterday it did go down the temperature for a little bit during the eclipse. Today that won't happen. 99 to 103 is what it'll feel like with the heat and humidity. So we're up today 93, 91 tomorrow. Hot and humid. The average high is 84. Will be above that. And then we cool it down Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Temperatures will be in the upper 70s to near 80 for about 4 days in a row, maybe 5 days in a row. So that'll be very comfortable, especially since we'll dry out a little bit. Right now, we do have the southerly winds, hot and humid conditions around, stationary front falling apart to our south, and a cold front developing up in the Midwest. That's going to move down here tomorrow. It's going to bring us some rain along with those cooler temperatures. So right now, we're in the low to mid 70s. We have fair skies overhead. There was some fog here earlier. Now I'd say it's more of a haze, which is kind of more diffuse, kind of not as layered as fog is. So super down for 10. Right now, things are quiet. There's no rain, and I'm not expecting much for rain today, except for maybe a stray shower or two in the region. So quiet weather up through noon, mostly sunny to partly cloudy skies at 3 p.m. And you'll see maybe a little flash of green here. An isolated shower or two is possible. I say the chance of rain for Hampton Roads 10%, really for the region about that. So not much happening out there for today. Tonight we're going to have mostly clear to partly cloudy skies. And then tomorrow things are going to change. We'll see the clouds increase by noon, maybe mostly cloudy in some spots. And then scattered showers and thunderstorms are going to develop. Now, it looks like a pretty good coverage in here for the afternoon into the evening as that cold front gets closer to the area. But the timing easily could change. That's been the case for the past couple of months with these fronts coming in. So check back for timing updates. WAVY News 10 at midday and at 4 p.m. We'll have a look at the model. So today, 89 over the Outer Banks, low 90s, Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Portsmouth, Currituck, 96 Chesapeake, 93 in Suffolk, and 95 in Franklin. Partly sunny skies. Going to be hot and humid with the heat index near 100. Upper 80s on the eastern shore, Melfa, 91 in Hampton though, 93 Newport News, low 90s in Gloucester, and mid to upper 90s in Williamsburg. The ECSC is happening this week, so today winds south-southwest 5 to 10. You got wave heights 1 to 2 feet today and tomorrow, and the water temps in the upper 70s, and it's a low threat for rip currents. Now, when you're watching the tropics, there's the remnants of Harvey, which aren't completely gone. Matter of fact, they may redevelop over the Bay of Campeche. If they do, some of the models take it up into southeast Texas around Brownsville, so we'll see. And then we're watching this little area. I think it's just going to bring some rain to Florida. Low chance of formation next 2 to 5 days, but watch that one carefully as it is closer to the United States. So 7-day forecast, highs in the low 90s next couple of days. We're closer to 80 than Thursday and Friday, and highs will be in the upper 70s going into Saturday and Sunday, the weekend. We're going to see some pretty nice weather out there. It's going to be drier, too.
Sounds great, Jeremy. Thank you very much. 7:53, a woman woke up to find an interesting surprise in her backyard. In fact, it's a little creepy. Someone left a piano in Anna's backyard in Sacramento. It is a Baldwin piano, and it's in pretty rough shape. Anna says she has no clue how the 400-pound instrument got there, but she really wants to get rid of it. She tried to donate to a local church and is trying to sell it online.
Put on Craigslist. I immediately took a photo and put it on Craigslist, but surprisingly no one wants it.
Those are pretty expensive to repair. If no one buys it, Anna says she'll just throw it out, but she still wants to know how it got there in the first place. And looking at that, yeah, that would cost a ton of money.
That is very strange.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the person just didn't want to pay to take it to the dump, or
how do you
how would they
get it there?
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like it was fenced in,
in
most spots. Those are heavy.
Yeah.
Where did that come
Maybe
from?
one of her friends is messing with her or something. I mean,
some
that's-
friend. Yeah. I don't know. There's
I don't
some
know.
weird.
Bugs Bunny's probably around there somewhere, and there's probably a Looney Tunes character around somewhere,
see it.
piano falling on him.
I see it now.
This is your latest news from the station on your side, WAVY News 10.
Good morning. Time now is 7:57.
Happening today, Norfolk City Council is expected to discuss a proposed plan to replace much of the city's public housing with mixed-use development. The council delayed a vote on it last month. The plan would demolish about 1,700 units over the next decade.
The homes are in what's known as St. Paul's. It includes homes in Calvert Square, Tidewater Gardens, and Young Terrace. A city spokesperson said council delayed last month's vote to hear from residents and impacted communities first. 7:58, here's Shen Lewis with the check of time saver traffic.
We still have some visibility issues up around the high-rise bridge. That's what you're looking at here at the base of the high-rise. Your westbound set of lanes here coming in toward Chesapeake. That's eastbound going toward Bowers Hill. So if you're heading in that direction, just leave a little bit early because it's been pretty foggy out there this morning. A crash still clearing here at the Monitor Merrimack Bridge Tunnel 664 northbound. It's been blocking one lane and now has traffic backed up near the Western Freeway. While we have this map up, the HRBT traffic, Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel 64 eastbound, that's still slowing around Settlers Landing. No delays right now using the James River Bridge. We also have a crash clearing on the peninsula. It is 64 westbound. It's before you get to the Fort Eustis Boulevard exit, but now it's over on the shoulder, thank goodness. But you can see this whole corridor is very heavy, eastbound and westbound. Eastbound slows before you get to Lee Hall, and then westbound slows right around Jefferson Avenue. We have an opening coming up at the JRB at 11:45. Now here's Jeremy with your forecast.
Thanks, Jen. Well, we got some lower visibility in there, like you said, southern Suffolk, southern Chesapeake, southern Virginia Beach, and down into the Coral Peak area. Other locations doing okay, but that fog's still hanging on. Should be gone here in the next hour or two. There's no rain right now, Super Doppler 10, and today we might see a stray shower, but otherwise we're partly cloudy, we're hot and humid. We're going to cool things down by Thursday. Highs will be in the low 80s and then upper 70s by the weekend.
Mic check 1 2 3 4 5 6. Mic check 1 2 3 4 5 6.
Now, from the station on your side, you're watching WAVY News 10 on Fox 43.
Our troops will fight to win. We will fight to win.
President Trump addresses the nation. What local lawmakers have to say about his new plan in Afghanistan.
New information in the search for missing sailors. The new phase in the search efforts after the USS John S. McCain collided with another ship in the Pacific.
And the sun is rising. Actually, it is up, and we are feeling the heat already. Heat indices will make it feel like around 100 degrees. We'll show you when you'll get some relief.
At 8 o'clock, we start with breaking overnight news from Virginia Beach. Police are investigating a crash that hurt an officer. It happened just after 3:30 this morning on General Booth Boulevard near London Bridge Road. That's in the Red Mill area of the city.
Investigators say a car ran a stop sign and slammed into the police cruiser. The cruiser was gone by the time our overnight photographer got this video, but you can see the other vehicle involved. That officer is okay, but went to the hospital as a precaution. The other driver got a ticket for failing to stop. The road is open.